All right, welcome to this explainer. Today, we are gearing up for something absolutely incredible. We're not just looking at some dusty old texts or boring concepts here. No way. We are getting a direct, active mission briefing for your everyday life. Seriously, whether you're 10 years old and stepping into a brand new school year, or you just need a total refresh, you have a daily mission. We're going to decode exactly what that mission is and show you how you can step up to be an active, everyday hero instead of just sitting on the sidelines. So, let's dive right in. So, I want you to imagine something with me for a second. Picture a giant cosmic book. Let's call it the Ledger of Heaven. Imagine that every single person has their own section in this massive record, and every single day a brand new page turns. What if literally everything you did today, every action, every choice, every tiny little moment was being written down on your page in that celestial book? It's a pretty wild thought, right? If you knew someone was recording your daily history, you'd probably want that page to be filled with some pretty awesome stuff. But, as we'll see, a lot of people fall into this sneaky little trap when it comes to this book.
And you know, that trap is exactly what we call the blank page problem. See, a lot of people, including tons of professing Christians, think that as long as they don't do anything actively bad, they're doing great. They might say to themselves, well, I didn't get into a fight today, I didn't break any rules, I didn't yell at my siblings, my page has absolutely 0 bad marks on it. They kind of flatter themselves into thinking that a blank page is a perfect page. But here's the reality check. Having a completely empty page doesn't mean you won the day. It just means you didn't really show up to play.
Now, the source text we're digging into today uses this really specific, kind of old-school term for this trap, a slothful servant. We all know what a sloth is, right? That super slow, fuzzy animal that just hangs out in a tree doing basically nothing all day. Well, a slothful servant is a total do-nothing. It's someone who contributes absolutely nothing to Christ's kingdom. They are completely satisfied to just crash on the couch and watch other people do all the hard work. Sure, they might not be actively stopping the workers, but they definitely aren't helping. Think of it like being assigned a huge group project at school, and you just let everyone else do the research and make the poster while you sit back and chill. You didn't ruin the poster, but man, you were a slothful partner.
And that brings us to, honestly, one of the most powerful insights here. The text says, the slothful servant was not condemned for what he had done, but for what he had not done. Wow. Read that again. It literally changes everything. The real danger in your daily mission isn't necessarily just breaking the rules or making mistakes. The absolute biggest failure is missing the chance to do something good. When you walk right past someone who dropped all their books, or you ignore a chance to help your mom with the dishes, that is what gets recorded, a missed opportunity. It's not about the bad things you did. It's about the amazing things you chose not to do.
When we put two totally different types of people side by side, something really surprising pops up. On one side, you've got the open profaner. That's just a fancy way of saying a very obvious rule breaker or a loud, mean person. The text actually compares them to a prickly briar or a thorn. Look, if you see a thorn bush, you know exactly what it is, right? You just walk around it. It doesn't trick you. But on the flip side is the do-nothing. The do-nothing looks totally harmless. They just sit there quietly. But the text argues that the do-nothing is actually the greatest hindrance of all. Why? Because they make doing nothing look completely normal and totally acceptable, secretly draining the energy out of everyone else's mission. Okay, let's look a little closer at why being a do-nothing is actually so dangerous. First off, they shun all disagreeable responsibilities. If a job is tough, boring, or messy, like taking out the trash or standing up for a kid who's being bullied, they just avoid it completely. Second, by doing nothing, they actually lend their influence to a wrong course. Imagine a bully is picking on someone and 10 kids just stand there watching, doing absolutely nothing. Their silence actually helps the bully. Finally, the text warns that do-nothings are the very first to be taken in Satan's snare. When you're bored, inactive, and constantly avoiding responsibility, you're basically stepping right into a trap because your guard is completely down.
So, what's the fix? How do we make sure our page in that heavenly ledger isn't totally blank? And how do we avoid the snare of the do-nothing? The text gives us 3 super clear, powerful action steps. Think of these as the Christian's watchwords: watch, pray, and work. This is your daily protocol. Watch means keep your eyes wide open for opportunities. Pay attention to who actually needs help around you. Pray means connecting with God to get the strength and the right attitude for your day. And work, that means actually rolling up your sleeves and taking action. You don't just think about doing good, you actually get out there and do it.
Now, I know what you might be thinking right now. Hey, I'm only 10 years old. I'm just a kid. I don't have super strength, I'm not rich, and I definitely don't run a charity. Well, the text hits that right on the head with what we can call the one-talent rule.
The author points out that absolutely no one is excused from laboring for others. No one is allowed to deceive themselves into thinking that nothing is required of them. Even if you only have one single talent, maybe you're just really good at drawing, or you have a super contagious smile, or you're just strong enough to carry a heavy grocery bag, God expects you to use that one talent. Nobody, and I mean nobody, is too young or too small to make a massive impact.
Because your real mission field, it's literally right in front of you every single day. First up is your family. How do you help? Simply by being kind and helpful at home without even being asked. Your second field is your neighborhood. You pitch in, you show real care to the people living right next door. And third, the poor, the sick, or the bereaved, which just means people who are sad because they lost someone they love. By showing them simple, everyday kindness, the text says you actually open their hearts to divine truth. It is incredibly practical. Your daily chores and your everyday acts of kindness, that literally is the mission. You know, the text uses this absolutely beautiful metaphor to describe what it looks like when you actually do this. It says we need to be a fruit-bearing branch of the living vine. Think of a super healthy apple tree. The branches don't just sit there doing nothing, right? If they're healthy, they are busy growing delicious, crisp apples for people to eat. If you are filled with the Spirit of Christ, you are like that healthy branch. Your fruit is all those awesome acts of kindness, all the times you helped your family, all the moments you chose to be an active worker instead of a slothful do-nothing.
And all of this builds up to our ultimate motivation, anchored in this super powerful verse from John chapter 9, verse 4. Jesus said, "I must work the works of him that sent me, while it is day. The night cometh when no man can work." This is all about urgency. Right now you have energy. You have today. It is daytime in your life, meaning you have the amazing opportunity to do great things. But the night is coming, meaning opportunities pass, time runs out, the day eventually ends. You have got to fill those ledger pages with earnest, awesome work while you actually have the chance.
Which brings us right back to where we started, the ledger of heaven. The pen is essentially in your hand right now. It's totally up to you to make the record that you want to see later. So I'm leaving you with this final, incredibly important question. What will you write in your record today? Are you going to let it be the blank, boring page of a do-nothing, or are you going to step up, watch, pray, and work to fill it with an awesome history of action and kindness? The mission is yours to accept. Thanks for joining me on this explainer. Now get out there and do some amazing work today.